You are not on the field, court, or ice. You are on the couch. From DG to DC, this is Coaching from the Couch with your host, CWall, delivering coverage for all DC sports teams from a hometown perspective. Nats, Skins, Mystics, DC United, Washington Wizards, Caps, Bowie State.
My name's CWall, I'm a PG girl. Down for my skins, I don't know if you heard. If you like watching sports, then I am your girl. Sit down on the couch if you're not on the field. Cold on the ice, pick any sport that you want. Know that I cover it tight. What would you like? From baseball to football and more. The list can go on the whole night. Big shouts out to my HBCU fam. Never forget who I am. Through the wins and the losses, the highs and the lows. We gotta stay strong, so I stay 10 toes. Make the competition back. The way I kick it, make them mad, man. CWall and we live and direct. Sit back on the couch and relax. Come on.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Coaching from the Couch. This is your weekly DC Sports edition. The whole rundown of everything we can fit into 30 minutes. Everything we can fit into 30 minutes of everything going on in DC sports. So you all know it's always jam-packed. And this week is no different. I see the CWall family is absolutely checking in already. If you are checked in, let's see the love and like emojis going off. Make sure you are sharing the show as well with your DC sports loving family and friends. As folks are checking in, let's go ahead and say what's up to everybody. I see, of course, the CWall team is checking in. I see Joy. I see Dervin. I see Mazdak. In terms of the biggest fans of all of DC sports, I see Damon and Cameron Mingo, among others. Faye has checked in as well. And while you all are still liking and loving the show and sharing with your DC sports loving family and friends, can you all take a moment to say hey to Mama Waller? Make sure you are saying hello to Mama Waller when she checks in. As you all can see, today is Veterans Day. So shout out to all of the veterans out there. My father is a veteran, my brother, a host of cousins, my uncle and godfather as well. So absolutely have to shout out the veterans as we get going into the show. You all. Whew, I'm giving myself a lot of time to just say whew, because it's just a lot. And you all know the drill. You know the drill. When is there a dull moment in DC sports? That would be never. So for this evening, we have an update on Bowie State. We have a Nats update. Wait, Bowie State, Nats, Wizards, Washington football team, and I feel like I'm forgetting something, but by the time we get up and get going on this, I will have absolutely remembered. And Kayla, I see you as well. Hello to you. So, you guys, are there any Bowie State Bulldogs? Any Bowie State Bulldogs in the building? Have to absolutely shout out the Bowie State University Bulldogs. They are playing in the CIAA championship this weekend, and we absolutely have to shout out Bowie State head football coach Damon Wilson for getting Coach of the Year. Real quick on Coach Wilson, he was voted CIAA Coach of the Year for the second straight season by league media and coaches. He has led Bowie State to a 9-1 regular season, including 9-0 against Division II competition. They have been ranked in Division II top 25 all season, ranking as high as number 8 nationally in one poll, and they will be playing their third CIAA championship this weekend. Shout out to the Bulldogs. They'll be playing against Fayetteville State University in Salem, Virginia. I was able to go one year and had a ball. So if you are planning on attending this weekend on Saturday, the game is Saturday, November 13th at 1 at Salem Stadium in Salem, Virginia. They tailgate out there. Okay, they tailgate, and you can still get tickets. If you want to go get a ticket. Tailgating starts at 9 in the morning. And the tailgate situation is quite serious, everybody, just so you know. And the gates open at noon. If you are unable to go, the championship game will be available on the CWall Sports Network as a pay-per-view option and will also be broadcast nationally on Aspire TV. Also, a host of Bowie State players made the first team all CIAA or second team. So we want to shout out all of those players. Congratulations and good luck. Best of luck. Best of luck. Is it okay for us to say we want to go for, the Bowie State Bulldogs? Is that all right? I won't be there. I won't be there. So I'm not covering the game in person over the weekend. So I think it's okay to say go Bulldogs. So moving on. Nats fans, where are the Washington Nationals fans? Because we absolutely need to talk. We need to have a bit of a powwow. Nats fans, we got to talk, because what is happening, what's already happening, is the conversations around if Juan Soto if he has a future in DC, or if he will hit free agency after the 2024 season. Do you all know who Juan Soto's agent is? Do you know? Tag in your Nats fans now. His agent is Scott Boras. Now, everybody in baseball knows Scott Boras. Okay? Scott Boras, he's everybody's agent. Anybody that's making a whole lot of money, that's the agent. So check this video out if you have not heard already about the accolades that Juan Soto continues to get. Check this out. Wanted to make sure I shared this from the Major League Baseball Network.
Field in the National League, Juan Soto of the Washington Nationals.
Juan Soto's .465 on-base percentage was the highest baseball has seen since Chipper Jones reached a base at a .470 clip in 2008. This is the second straight Silver Slugger Award for Soto, who is the only qualifying player in the majors with more walks than strikeouts in 2021. In MLB leading 145 walks and just 93 punch-outs. Besides leading in OBP and walks, Soto also batted .396 with runners in scoring position to pace the majors. In the National League rankings, Soto was second runs, batting average, OPS plus. His .525 on-base percentage after the All-Star break was 8th best all-time for the second half of a given season. And people could say, his team wasn't playing for anything in the second half. Timeout. This guy might be the best hitter in baseball.
Listen, I don't think it's negotiable if it's a might. And I see the comments already coming in about the potential of the Nats losing Juan Soto. This is very important. And you all know something that we do on Culture from the Couch, CWall Sports and Entertainment, is that we're tracking these stories. We're tracking it now. And Scott Boras has already shared. The Washington Post has a whole entire article on this, that Juan Soto wants to win, right? And he's quoted as saying, so the first thing that's going to have to happen is that he knows that he's working with an ownership that's going to annually try to compete and win. And then I think once he knows that, then he'll be ready to sit down and talk whenever they choose to talk. Okay, so check this out. General Manager Mike Rizzo's response. We've made it known that we want Juan to be a long-term national. Okay. He also says it's no secret. We talked to the player himself. We talked to Scott before. As of this point, he and I haven't sat down and discussed it in depth, but we've spoken in generalities and that type of thing. And he knows our thought process on it. It will be something we want to talk to him about being here for a long, long time. Listen. Okay, it was apparent during the summer that Juan Soto was not happy at all with the abrupt changes, right? Abrupt changes. It was. We all know that was not at all a sign of an organization that was trying to compete annually. Not at all. So check this out. I think it's very important that Nats fans pay close attention to this, because as far as what I'm reading into this is General Manager Mike Rizzo. We're talking about generalities and we haven't talked in depth. No, have the in-depth conversation up front. Anybody that absolutely wants to compete and wants to win, of course they're going to want to compete annually. That's absolutely imperative. See, these players, they're not trying to hear about the rebuild. And as far as you all know, and I get it. I get the money. I get what needs to happen. You don't have enough money to keep this one and that one. But a player of Juan Soto's caliber he's not thinking in that way. So what do? Do you say, you know what? This is going to be the face of our franchise. This is absolutely who we want. And we have to do our part in ensuring that we are showing that we want to compete every single season. Keyword that Scott Boras said, annually. That means every year, people. And the fact that General Manager Rizzo is talking about in generalities, oh no. Be direct. Be direct. This is your star. This is a league star. Okay? Now is not the time. Up front, proactive, in depth. Now, this is something that should have an absolute sense of urgency for the Nationals organization. Seriously. You don't want, because Scott Boras, we all know, he's going to wheel and deal. He's going to get you your money. Whether it's in the District of Columbia or wherever, Scott's going to get the money because that's what he does. But the organization has to step up. I will always say this. I am still so very shocked in how the team just so abruptly made changes. You can't just make a change like that and think that everybody's going to be okay with it, the players included. They have spoken, wants to compete. I think it's very, very important that we keep our eyes on this situation, folks, because it's not going away and it absolutely needs to be addressed. Absolutely needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. You all can hear the sense of urgency in my voice. So I would hope, absolutely hope, that the team and the organization does their part in feeling and sensing that sense of urgency to start very direct and frank conversations now and wanting to compete. Who wants to just sit around? Shouldn't want to just sit around. Now, moving on to the next segment, talking about the Washington Wizards. And this segment is brought to you by Modern-ish Clothing, the voice for those who love to express their individuality through their clothing style. Wizards fans, are you all checked in? Wizards fans, like, love emoji. Make sure you're sharing to the Wizards group, tagging in your Wizards peeps. Okay, Wizards fans, check in. Okay, first of all, if you haven't already, along with following CWall Sports and Entertainment, you all know I am also a member of the Triple W podcast, where we talk Wizards, WNBA and NBA, and women in sports. Make sure you are subscribed on YouTube, Apple, all of the above, and also are following the page on Twitter at Triple W Pod. Actually, earlier this week, we did a Twitter space, which is something like Clubhouse. We did a Twitter space during halftime. We had a lot of fun, and that was cool. So we'll be doing more of that, as well as dropping the podcast. So, more to come. It's a long season, only 11 games in. So we got a lot more season left and a lot more to cover as we continue to go through the season. So, Wizards fans, tell me the truth. How are you feeling? How are you feeling? And while you're sharing how you're feeling, let's go through some of, some interesting game notes after the Wizards win, 97-94 win over the Cavs. The Wizards are now 8-3. They have now tied their 2014 and 1968 seasons for the second best start to a season through 11 games. Their best was in 1974-75, where they started the season 9-2 through 11 games. So now Washington has won 4 games in a row against Cleveland, marking the longest win streak over the Cavs since 2002, 2003. Kyle Kuzma led all shooters and set a season high with 6 3-pointers made. Finished with 22 points and 5 rebounds on the night. Spencer Dinwiddie had a double-double, career high 10 rebounds and added 11 points. Montrezl Harrell. Why do I keep calling Montrezl Harrell? Do I know somebody? I gotta talk to my mother about this. I feel like I'm gonna call him Harold, but I know somebody with the last name is pronounced Harrell, and so that's why I'm saying it that way. Okay. So, hey. So, listen. Absolutely want this to be the best season that we've seen in a very long time. Absolutely want to bring up the fact that Brad didn't have his best game. And we all found out that, Brad is dealing with the death of a grandparent and going through that. And I'm really, really enjoying what I'm seeing. And I want to share some things. Of course, we got clips. So we're going to build in these clips right now, because while Brad was not having the greatest of shooting nights at all, for a stint, he was over 10. He still made an impact. He still made an impact. And I absolutely see Cameron suggested to do a post-game show on Twitter Space. I will take that back to my credentialed media friends and ask them if we have time to do a post-game, because we are to be in the press conferences after the game. That's why we choose to do halftime, because we absolutely have to check in and be engaged in the press conferences. But it's not a bad idea at all. So, with that being said, let's show a clip from the pressers after that game, because Coach Unseld Jr. absolutely talked about, while Brad was not having the best of nights shooting, how Brad was still able to make an impact. Check it out here.
Hey, Wes. On the 3, I'm always curious when you have that's an Iverson curve, right? To get Brad the ball to start. Is that is that a read for him, or is that always designed to get to Kuzma the shot?
No, it's a read. There's 3 options in that play. I'm not going to tell you all 3, but it was a heck of a read. It is an option, of course. Yeah. But and he made the right play.
And I just, Brad's always said body language is a tell for him when he's not shooting the ball well. And I wonder what you saw from him as the game went on in terms of body languages. He kind of started doing other things besides scoring to keep you in the game.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the hallmark of a pro. Find a way to impact the game. and his strength offensively, we know is through the roof. But when it's not going well, what else can you do? He made big plays defensively, deflections, got a steal late. So, I think he knows we're going to lean on him, on the offensive end. And to show that, he's not hanging his head, he's going to stay in the game, compete, and find a way to help his teammates stay afloat. It's a good thing to see. It's a guy who understands the value of his presence.
I absolutely agreed with that. I did, because I said, hey, you know what? I really enjoyed the fact that, here's the thing, Brad was doing some Brad-like things when he's not on point. We know that his mind was elsewhere at the time. But what I absolutely did enjoy is at those moments, you pass it. You absolutely pass it. And I can appreciate that as well. And I see some excellent comments coming in from Lash. Leaders contribute any way possible. As Mike Lyles is saying, love what coach is doing. Absolutely agree with that. There is something to be said, because, hey, was that, some may think with Sexton being out, that was a game that the Wizards should have absolutely blown the Cavaliers out. And that may be true, but I tell you this much. Under the previous coaching staff, the Wizards would have easily lost that game. Easily. And the fact that the team can adjust. If you all remember the show last week, we were coming off of the team having lost 2 in a row. And Coach Unseld Jr. in the press conference was visibly frustrated. Let's say that, visibly frustrated, as was Brad. And Brad made the comment, we're not that good yet. We're not that good where we can just, as he said, flick the light on and off. Can't do that. I always say, how do you respond? And in this last week of games, we've seen how the Wizards respond. And a lot of that is exactly to the comment that I just shared on the screen. And that has a lot to do with Coach Unseld Jr. A lot else that folks are talking about that I think is important, very important to bring this up, is folks are talking about the chemistry. I want to share this comment from the presser, from Kyle Kuzma, where he specifically addresses the comment on chemistry.
Does this reflect chemistry, or does it create chemistry?
A little bit of both. I think, we have an okay chemistry right now. Obviously, it's still early and young in the season, 11 games in, but that's something that can take okay chemistry to good chemistry. Find a way on a road with the crowd against you, with a big front court like they had, and for us to pull out a win like that, that's a big moral victory. Obviously outside of winning, but for the morale of the team and to keep guys, kind of together and see how we molded as into one out there. That last 5 minutes of the game was huge.
And I agree with Kuz. I think at the final parts of the game, they're not having a meltdown. They are going to play this game until the end. And that is something that I know we all have not seen in quite some time. And I'm loving DJ's comment here. Wizards fans should be excited. I think they have something here with on-court play and coaching. And we all see the pressers, with Montrez and Brad doing their pressers together. And then you just see the on-court camaraderie, which is huge, absolutely huge. Have to move on, everybody, because we are short on time. I could talk about the Wizards for a very long time. I could talk about all of this for a very long time. But before we move on to Washington football team for a hot second, because that's all we had to cover the Washington football team, here's a quick commercial break. Washington football team fans, check in. Absolutely need you to check in. Are you in the building? So listen, it seems like the search for the next quarterback is on. Okay, just in the last week, we know that there has been Washington football team representation at the Liberty Ole Miss game to check out Malik Willis and Matt Corral. We know that there's been representation at the USC Arizona State game to check out their quarterbacks. Wake Forest, UNC to check out Sam Hartman and Sam Howell. Now for the game with Pitt and UNC again, there's 3 scouts back to check out UNC quarterback Sam Howell. So listen, I think that's worth noting, folks. That's worth noting. They're in the search. They're absolutely in the search for a quarterback. They're absolutely checking the box. They're checking folks out. So, hey, make sure that we're checking things out. Make sure that we are absolutely checking them out too, because it's important. It's extremely important. And now we know it's not so much about what they say, but it's about what they do. And they're yet again checking out the UNC quarterback. That would be twice in 1 week. So absolutely have to keep our eyes on that. In terms of the practice report, did not practice so far. You know, Curtis Samuel is still out with a groin injury on Thursday. He went to check out or meet with other doctors to check on his groin. Benjamin St. Juice was ill, did not practice. Montez Sweat, we know he is out with a jaw fracture. Limited in practice, Diami Brown, Sam Cosme, Antonio Gibson, Sammy's Reyes, Brandon Sheriff, and Cam Sims, and full practice, William Jackson III. So he's back fully practicing, and I think that is important to share with you all. Now, before we get going, and oh my gosh, time just flies when you're having fun. Tom Brady has some nice things to say, about Washington's defense when they played them back during the playoffs, mentioning the weather, because it is supposed to be cold on Sunday, high of 51. But before we all go and head out, definitely want to do one of the things that we love to do, and you all already know what that is, and that is, what are your bold predictions? The bold predictions for Sunday's matchup, Washington football team against the defending Super Bowl champion, Tom Brady-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What can the team do? Can they do anything? Can they do anything? Is this a winnable game? I guess it's always at any given Sunday, but absolutely want to hear and see your bold predictions. While you're dropping the bold predictions, I know that everybody has also heard about Cam Newton headed back to the Panthers. I know some folks are like, so what? Cam is not the Cam of old, but hey, that's another quarterback that this team has to prepare for that I don't think they should sleep on either. I don't think they should sleep on any of them. But we see Damon, 23-20 game-winning field goal. Hey, you guys, anything can happen. We all know this. But we know that we'll be back for some more shows next week to definitely discuss whether it was a not so good, very bad day, or if the day turned out not so bad, right? You guys, we have come to the close of another edition of Coaching from the Couch. This is your DC Sports Weekly Update. You guys, make sure you are sharing the show with your DC Sports loving family and friends. Always check in with a like and love emoji, and I will see you guys soon.
You're not on the field, court, or ice. You're on the couch. From DG to DC, this is Coaching from the Couch with your host, CWall. delivering coverage for all DC sports teams from the hometown perspective. Nats, Skins, Mystics, DC United, Washington Wizards, Caps, Bowie State.
My name's CWall, I'm a PG girl. Down for my skins, I don't know if you heard. If you like watching sports, then I am your girl. Sit down on the couch if you not on the field. Cold on the ice, pick any sport that you want. Know that I cover it tight. What would you like? From baseball to football and more. The list can go on the whole night. Big shouts out to my HBCU fam. Never forget who I am through the wins and the losses, the highs and the lows. We gotta stay strong, so I stay 10 toes. Make the competition back. The way I kick it, make them mad, man. CWall and we live and direct. Sit back on the couch and relax. Come on.